Yo.
Hello. Michael should be here shortly.
All right.
Do you know what you're going to see at South by Southwest, or?
Yeah, I've actually already seen them.
Cheater. He's still connecting to audio.
Hang on, I'll be right back.
All right.
Hello?
Hello. All right. Is there anything? What do you guys? Anything you want to talk about besides the stuff on the docket?
Hello? Hello? You can hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Okay. I had the computer thought the speaker was coming through the microphone. So.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's see here. Anything we need to talk about besides the movies?
Just hugs and kisses, getting through the pandemic. I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Just watching kids for the second time that I didn't need to watch ever again. That's fun.
Yeah, we'll put it on the show anyway, even though I haven't seen it.
It feels like it's one of those one-time movies, like Schindler's List or like Requiem for a Dream. You know, it's like something you want to watch one time. You know.
All right. Then I'll hit play. We can get going, or record, and we can get started.
All right.
You guys won't be able to hear the music. Sorry, another bad chord. Got to figure this shit out. And go. Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick, and from the Two Mics podcast, Michael Carlson.
Hello, everybody. This is Michael.
Thank you for joining us this week. I can't wait to get to If Looks Could
Kill, the Richard Grieco classic. Yes.
This is why we're here.
Yeah. Couldn't find it anywhere, but I watched a bunch of clips of it.
Okay.
Looks amazing. Visit us at IHateCritics.net, Everyone's Critic Podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle's CriticsPod. Listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. We're also on YouTube. Click on the little bell notification thing to know when we're live. We go live Sunday mornings or Monday nights, depending on our schedule. We are live right now. I didn't tell Michael that. Hopefully he's okay with it. What else we got? Where can people hear the Two Mics podcast, Mike?
Wherever podcasts can be downloaded. That's Two Mics podcast, strength, synergy, resilience. The funnier, the most of the people you know. You're welcome.
All right, let's get to our episode. It is and before I get there, I want to talk about Patreon. Patreon.com/criticspod, the best way to help support the podcast. We also have our TeePublic stuff. If you go to ihatecritics.net, click on the TeePublic link in the right-hand corner, or search Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast or Critics Pod or Willem Dafoe. You'll find our stuff at tpublic.com. All right, let's get the picture.
It's Willem Dafoe, not William. Make sure everyone knows it's Willem. I'm just saying, people. I get confused. Everyone gets confused. And then the guy that looks at the boats in Mallrats, it's Willem as well.
I can't talk right, so I know
fine.
It's Willem, but words come out of my mouth weird. Let's see here. All right, first movie is a very boring cherry on Apple Plus.
The cherry on the apple.
Cherry stars Tom Holland and Sierra Bravo as a couple who meet in college and develop a relationship, but she's a little bit quirky, so she dumps him kind of on a whim, and he doesn't know what to do, so he joins the army.
We just lost Sean.
Do you think does Cherry feature Tom Holland ever getting any superpowers? Do you know if that happens at all, Bob?
I didn't see him get any superpowers. It was kind
it feels
of
like that's really in his wheelhouse. Does he have an American accent, or does he have does he have because he doesn't have a Queen's accent normally in America, or does he have a regular American accent? That's what I want to know.
In the movie, he had a regular accent.
Okay.
But I had to turn it off at one point. It was so boring. And it was just, he's always been that little wholesome kid, especially being Spider-Man, and then trying to do a movie like this, it doesn't really work for him. I mean, not that he can't do a movie. Maybe the movie's just boring. It's the Russo brothers who did the Avenger movies, but it's just boring. At some point, Sean will come back to save me from how bad I am at this, to talking about this. But yeah, he's not the problem. It's just more so that it didn't keep my interest at all. And maybe I read Sean's review and I don't remember him liking it that much either. So that could be part of why I got bored with it. All right. I'm going to pause the recording here and see what's going on with Sean. The YouTube people, though, they'll get to see all of this.
Hey, everybody.
Good for them.
This is Mike's basement. Here it is. I'm working on my bathroom today. My wife left, so I'm working on the bathroom. I've got putting up a glass door for my shower. I don't know how to do it, so I've got friends coming over to help me do it. I'm like, I have no idea how to put up this door, and it was the most expensive part of the entire thing was this glass door. So I'm like, I don't want to break this glass door.
It's funny. So when you say she left, she just temporarily left.
Well,
right?
she went to she went to Bloomington for the day.
Oh, nice. It sucks you have to do something though. You can't just do nothing.
Totally. I totally feel like Garth though. Like when Delana leaves, I'm like, I can finally listen to my music at the appropriate level.
Funny. I had to go a week we went out of town last week to Georgia, and I didn't get to listen to music hardly at all on the whole ride. I drove the whole way, and it was just constant. I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to listen to that. Can you listen to true crime podcasts? I hate true crime. Anything NPR like, I don't want to hear.
Okay.
Just not. I want to listen to the Two Mics podcast. She wouldn't let me.
We say bad words. It's nice to go in your basement and swear. I listened to this one podcast. It's called True Crime Obsessed. It's this girl and her gay best friend, and they watch true crime documentaries and review them. I think it's fantastic. I love it. It's called True Crime Obsessed.
That's good. I subscribed to the Amanda Knox podcast where she just listens to or does true crime stuff. Sean's internet's completely down, so this
Okay.
blow up on us.
Did you watch her documentary on Netflix?
Yes, I did.
I thought that was incredible. Like, especially like the way documentary stories are told. This was non-traditional. I really liked the way they did it.
Yeah, I liked it too, and she didn't get paid anything for it. So, I mean, that makes it that much.
Well, yeah.
cooler.
And I think also just the impetus was just like, get your story out. Like that'd be payment
Right.
enough.
Exactly. Because people still think she's guilty.
Dude, especially like in your mind, you think like Europe, like people just banging left and right in Europe, like they don't care about anything. And all of a sudden the cop is like super religious. And you're like, what do you mean people are super, like, I don't, you assume like people like in the 3-mile radius around Vatican City are religious, but everybody else in Europe is not religious,
Right. Yeah. But she apparently has her own podcast where she goes over true crime stuff. And apparently, I don't know. I heard her on Whitney Cummings' podcast talking about it. And I couldn't listen to it because I just don't care about overly produced podcasts.
Yeah.
I like more conversational.
I like this one, like the True Crime Obsessed, because it's just, you could tell they're in the room. They're like in their bedroom, doing it.
Right.
And it's
And
just
that's
like
cool.
it's two friends just hanging out. And it seems like you're like, I want to listen to a podcast that feels like you're hanging out with people,
Yeah, no, I agree completely. But my wife likes those stupid true crime NPR. Like, basically, I'm like, if it sounds anything like Serial, I don't want to hear it.
I want to hear the weird intro and outro.
Hell, yeah, I just want regular people talking. Even if it's like Mark Maron in an interview, at least it's a conversation. I don't.
Well, like even when Corey got like he nominated himself or other people nominated him for the podcast award or whatever, and he's like up against ESPN or whatever. Like, how's that even fair? Like, that's the dumbest thing in the world.
Then he lost to Bruce Pritchard.
Something to wrestle with. And he's like, "Oh, who's this Bruce Pritchard guy?" I'm like, "I had that guy on my podcast, Corey."
I sent him a picture of Brother Love. I'm like, this is who you lost to.
Yeah.
It is a phenomenal podcast, though. Or at least it used to be when they were on all the time. All right. All right, YouTube, you guys enjoy that. We lost Sean there briefly. And if this could have been a good enough conversation to just keep recording for the podcast. We'll see. But let's bring Sean back and start talking about Tom Holland and Sherry.
Should I start over?
So Cherry.
Go ahead and start wherever you want to start.
Well, basically, where I was getting to the point where he had started taking drugs. He started taking OxyContin to try and finally get some sleep and get a little peace from his PTSD. And then his girlfriend finally grows tired of him and decides the best thing she can do is join him. So she starts taking it as well. And I find this to be a very glib take on the process of going from PTSD to drug addiction. I think there's an attitude here that this movie, it's like watching a child try to be an adult. That's not a commentary on Tom Holland. That's a commentary on just the approach that the Russo brothers take to making this. They appear to be like kids who want to be, Kubrick, or a kid who wants to be, pretend towards making the Hurt Locker. Like they don't have any of the experience. It doesn't feel authentic, and nothing about this, the humor of this especially, doesn't feel authentic. It feels very childish. There's a lot of stuff that takes place in the movie at his when he's training to go to Iraq, and a lot of it is Sergeant Nobody and Doctor Nobody, and because it's funny to not remember names, I guess, or that these people don't matter. And none of that's really funny. And then when he eventually starts robbing banks to make money to steal to buy drugs, and it's the bank of nothing, or it's all the bank names are jokes, but they're not funny jokes. And the movie doesn't find the tone properly of what's funny about this or the absurdity of this. It never finds that, but it assumes it. That's the
Right.
shitty part of it, is that it assumes all of the weight of what the Hurt Locker accomplished, or what Jarhead, even to a point, earns from being, Jarhead's not a great movie, but at least it knows what it is, and it has an
Right.
attitude towards it that's a very adult movie. And this feels like kids pretending to be adults.
Yeah, even like the fourth wall stuff, where like in Goodfellas and Ray Liotta's narrating and stuff, that when Tom Holland's trying to talk to the audience, he's like doing it while robbing a bank. It's not like a narrator, so it's really, again, childish. I think is a good word for it. It doesn't work. He just looks at the camera and says, "This is how you rob a bank," and then he goes and robs the bank, and it's all like in one motion. There's no separation between the two, and it doesn't work. But on top of that, it's super boring. This really is a disappointment.
I haven't seen it. Like from the outside looking in, it kind of looks like Brothers. Have you seen that? It's like 2009, I think. It had other Spider-Man in it, and it had Jake Gyllenhaal. That was a really good movie. So this is not like Brothers at all.
Yeah, that was a really good movie, and had similar theming to it as this
It's
one does.
like PTSD and dealing with
Yeah.
being back in reality. So he breaks the fourth wall just like Zach Morris does. Correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong. Except he doesn't like do it properly.
There's no timeout.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just-
You need the timeout.
if he said timeout, it would work better. Because then at least they would have known they were being child. I don't know. Sean's right. It goes back to the Russos. They're the problem with this. They're TV directors who got lucky with the Avengers stuff, and those are kind of, you can work in that. I mean, I want to call those movies childish, but they are superheroes.
It's pretentious, is
Yeah.
what it is, and it doesn't have the weight.
But it's failed pretension.
Right. They're assuming more weight than this movie carries, and that's really what sinks the whole thing.
All right. That's about as far as I got into Cherry. No, I got most of the way through it, but I did turn it off.
Sean, I asked about his accent, because in Spider-Man he has his English accent, but he does a Queen's accent. Does he have like a Midwestern accent in Cherry?
I didn't really notice it. I didn't really pick up
Okay,
on it.
all right.
He's
Well,
the character's
him.
from Ohio, and it's
Okay.
so it's a Midwestern accent, I guess, but it's not really very notable.
Well, just like it feels like British people always just kind of go into the Southern accent, like Hugh McGregor. You're like, it's his American accent. He's going into a Southern accent.
All right, let's move on from Cherry. Sean got to go to the Miami Film Festival in his house.
Congratulations. You look like you got a lot of sun.
But he talked about, let's start with the first movie. You pronounce them?
Ludi. Ludi is a story of this is amazingly a story about a woman who's a Haitian immigrant. She's come to live in the U.S. in Miami, and she's trying to raise enough money to take care of her family back in Haiti. She's got an even longer term goal of maybe bringing them to the U.S., but this is so far off in the distance because she has almost no money, despite the fact that she works 65, 75 hours a week as a caregiver. She's pulling down 240 hours a month. I mean, she's just working nonstop, multiple shifts daily to try and make money. And she's barely affording the tiny apartment that she's in. She doesn't have a car. She has to take a bus to work, despite the fact, again, she's working 60 plus hours a week and not complaining about it at all. And all she wants to do is just raise enough money to take a vacation back to Haiti just to see her family. And she's got this family that she cares about and she loves, but she doesn't get to any of the comfort of having a family. You know what I mean? Which is like, it's just the tragedy of this is so amazing. But then that she's not feeling that. She's got this tunnel vision of just, I need to do this, I need to accomplish this, and I need to just get through it all. And everything just keeps piling up. Like there's this guy at work who she works with who she wants him to give up a couple hours more so she can work because she needs more money and she wants more time working because more work, more money. And he tries to hold her up for it by saying, go out on a date with me. And he's really cruel about it. Like it's not charming. He wants to go out with her, but really he just wants to have sex with her in exchange for hours. And she's not going to do that. So to try and find the extra money that she needs, she takes another job at night. So she works a double shift. Then she's going to work again overnight to as a caregiver for somebody who's living at their home in an apartment. And this is an older Jewish man who is not particularly happy about having a caregiver in her home. This leads to an ending that is, I mean, you can see it coming, but it is so absurd. It's just in its sadness and unfortunate nature that it is kind of comical in a way, even as sad as it is. It's almost as if it's comically sad. It's that thin line between comedy and tragedy that this movie lands on so perfectly. It's not like devastating. It's like not like a genuine tragedy, because even she can see that what happened was simply a mistake, but it's one that's just cost her an entire night where she could have actually gotten some sleep. Like, it's so absurd. And yet at the same side, it's unfortunate for her in this way. I think this movie pulls off this trick incredibly well. The lead star is a woman by the name of Shine Mom Premier, and the director is Edson Jean, and it's a terrific movie. I recommend it highly, and not many people are going to get a chance to see it, unfortunately.
So the ending is comical, and she plays like a nursemaid to an older gentleman. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the ending is nowhere near like the Fat Boys classic, Disorderlies. No, okay, just checking, because that would have been right in my wheelhouse.
Although the combination of comedy and tragedy in that movie, I would compare to this.
Okay.
All right, what else did you see?
I saw Sin La Habana, or Without Havana. This is the story of a Cuban ballet dancer who is desperate to get out of Cuba. He finds his chance when he's the best, essentially the best ballet dancer in all of Cuba, and he's part of the Cuban National Ballet, but he's very egotistical. So instead of getting the lead role, the director decides you're not getting the lead role, you're getting a part-time role because you're too arrogant and you need to learn to be respectful of people. This causes him to being headstrong, he quits, just drops out. And this is going to cost him his chance to make enough money to get out of the country. He returns home to this cave that he lives in with his girlfriend. And she's like, you better figure something out, because you've got to get both of us out of this country somehow. And she advises him to get a job as a dance instructor, which is comical because he becomes this salsa dance teacher, even though he doesn't know how to dance salsa. He's a ballet dancer, but these tourists are so clueless. They don't know what salsa dancing is, so they just do whatever he says. And he's very charismatic and a great dancer. So she instructs him, you will seduce one of these tourists and get her to take you out of the country, and then you're going to bring me with you later. So essentially, she's forcing him into a situation of prostituting himself to get them out of the country. And she says to him, if you don't do it, I will. And she's a lawyer. She's a lawyer. She's very smart, but she doesn't make any money because Cuba. She can get to the U.S. and be a lawyer and maybe make some money, but the bottom line is he's got to get them out first. And the sexual masculinity dynamics of this are very fascinating, because usually it is the woman who is forced into this situation, and it's usually the woman who gets put into the situation of having to prostitute herself in order to do something, to accomplish something like this. And in this case, she's pushed him into this, and it tests his masculinity, the way she's telling him to do these things against his will. And of course, he's got this big Cuban masculine energy to him. It really forces him into a place of darkness. And the whole thing is filmed like a waking dream. It's very beautiful. It's got lots of a great color to it. He eventually does meet a woman who brings a whole other dynamic to the movie, an Iranian woman who's from Toronto, from Montreal, excuse me, because it's French. She's got a whole Muslim background for her, that she's actually just left a husband who was very abusive towards her. And her father is very upset with her because you can't get a divorce in this culture. And she has. And then she's gone to Cuba by herself. And now she's come back with this boy toy who everybody thinks she's just, being used for. And there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of stuff at play here. And it's really interesting.
So it's like Indecent Proposal, but the girl is a boy's part. Because I've seen Indecent Proposal. Oh yes, I've seen Indecent Proposal.
In this case, the Iranian woman doesn't have any idea that he's just seducing her. She thinks that they're actually having a love affair. She doesn't know about the other woman.
But then they fall in love, and the other woman gets
not
left
that
behind a Cuba.
It's high and dry.
It's actually not even remotely that simple.
Maybe he's just in love with both women at the same time. It's his cross to bear.
It's kind of hard to say where he falls in the end. He seems to love the woman. He seems to love his girlfriend very much. He seems to desperately not want to hurt this other woman, and maybe kind of feel something for her. There's a big moment in the movie where the girlfriend
move to Utah. Sorry.
Well, there's that place between like the no man's land between Arizona and Utah where you can there's no rules. You can just go there.
The girlfriend,
Sorry, Sean.
The girlfriend tells him, do this, but when you're making love to her, don't look her in the eye. And you'll need to watch the movie to see how that plays out.
Okay.
It actually does sound pretty good. I know we're making jokes and stuff, but it does sound like it's
this sounds better than Cherry and then the other one too.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
This is not Kids. This is Kid 90 from Hulu.
Relax, Michael. We'll get to your trauma in just a moment.
Fine.
Kid 90 is directed by Soleil Moon Frye, who's better known as Punky Brewster from the 1980s series Punky Brewster, and now actually this Punky Brewster today as well. She's actually playing that character again on Peacock. But this is taken from her life in the late 80s, early 90s, where she filmed a lot of her life and in Hollywood and had all these very famous friends from the cast of 90210 to the cast of Saved by the Bell. To just any number of different people who she became close to. And this is fascinating for many reasons, because you would assume that this is just going to be like a nostalgia trip or some navel gazing, but she's really got an interesting take here on her own life and the notion of memory and how you remember things and how even traumatic memories can become something you're nostalgic about in a strange way because they're part of who you are. And I've really found her approach to this fascinating because you're watching her watch this footage and be kind of confused by it, not remember some of it, and to be and have it all kind of dawn on her all over again. Like, wow, I was surrounded by a lot of death. And she was. Like, there was death all around her. She was dating Jonathan Brandis, the one of the he was in a number of movies from Ladybugs to Sequest DSV to
Never Ending Story 2.
Yeah, and tragically took his own life very young. And when she went in to get her breast reduction surgery at 14 years old, he was there. And just goes to underline these Hollywood lives that we didn't really talk about a lot. Jonathan Brandis doesn't get a lot of discussion, and there's not a lot of, they don't linger on it here. They linger on her memory of it, which I thought was a very respectful way to talk about his death and what happened to him through her lens. I thought that was at least because they don't linger on the details of these deaths. They're not talking about tragedy. They're talking about how she remembers them. And I thought that was a much more interesting, respectful way to handle this. She had another friend who 2 weeks before he killed himself, he called her. Who was one of her co-stars on the television adaptation Outsiders. She was friends with this porn star named Savannah, who has this amazingly tragic death. She crashed her car and then shot herself in the head. Yeah. And Soleil has footage that night of herself trying to stop Savannah from getting in the car.
Yeah,
it's a pretty deep movie. I really liked it, but felt like she could have done more. Did you watch the David Arquette documentary, the wrestling one?
Yeah.
It felt like they, because what the hell's Dylan's name from 90210?
Brian Austin Green or
no,
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry, because I guess him and David Arquette were best friends, and he was part of the documentary, but he did pass away while they were filming the David Arquette documentary. And then it felt like they could have done a totally different story. Obviously, David Arquette was going through something else at the exact same time they were making this documentary, and they didn't go that direction. And it felt like in the Star 90, it felt like they could have gone a million other different directions. Like she was also sexually assaulted, and you're like, And it's just like the over sexualization of girls too, like Britney Spears or Christina Applegate or Alicia Silverstone. It feels like every year there's another 14-year-old girl that's like over sexualized. When you're 14 and you're watching the crazy video, it's one thing. But when you're an adult and you see this from the outside looking in, you're like, this is messed up. This is messed. This is not appropriate. But like, it felt like she could have told different stories, but instead it was more like the greatest hits of her life, which was nice, but it also kind of felt like it was a promo for her series that's coming out and one the same. But she had real things going on in her life.
I felt it a little bit differently. I thought her approach to it was deeper than that, because I thought she was examining memory as much as anything else.
Okay.
And I think from that perspective, I found it more moving. Not that you're wrong. You're not wrong. I'm just saying that I just think that her approach of it in terms of just looking back as a memory, I thought that was much more interesting way of approaching this material, especially since it is so tragic and it could become very dreary.
Well, and especially like her living on the edge. Like they were talking about all these drugs that everybody was doing, and like they were still driving around. Like they don't have public transit in Los Angeles. Like they're still doing all this stuff and and then she kind of glossed over the whole Charlie Sheen thing, and you're like,
did he rape her or somebody else do that?
I don't think I didn't get the sense that he raped her. I got the sense that she really liked him, but he was also very much older than her.
But the first time she had sex was almost, and again,
I felt like it was an assault rape.
I couldn't tell if that was Charlie Sheen or if it was somebody else, and she didn't count that.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But it was hard to. A lot of it, and I guess I get what you're right. It's more about the memory. And I guess it could have been more exploitative if she wanted to be, and it probably wouldn't have been as respectful if she had gone there. Even when they were getting to the point where her breasts did grow and she was just starting to get cast as tits and ass, to her, those are her words. They go to Mark Paul Gosselaar, where he kind of empathizes with her and changes the narrative altogether. And all of us kids had to act like adults, and they kind of left the sexualization of her there and moved on to something else. I don't think that was the wrong move. It was just a choice they made, and it
was funny. Like even in Wonder Years, she was cast as tits and ass with Fred Savage.
Yeah, and they showed all those clips of the Saved by the Bell Wonder Years, where she just pops in and the boys have to react a certain way. But yeah,
it's pretty gross. It is pretty gross what men in the '90s were able to do. I mean,
yeah.
This notion that the tabloids are speculating about her at 14 years old and talking about her breasts, and people wants to put her on the cover to talk about her breasts. She's 14 years old.
I remember going to
What's
school.
wrong with you?
I remember going to school listening to WBNQ in Bloomington talking about her boobs. Like the DJs were talking about her boobs as I was getting dropped off at school when I was like 13 or 14. It's like, that was just, how dare she get smaller boobs? It's like, and then just these grown men talking about a 14-year-old girl's boobs for entertainment, for infotainment.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of radio DJs who can look back on their career and be glad that they were recording on cassettes.
It wasn't recorded.
Yeah. And hopefully they've lost those cassettes because oh no, cancel culture.
I mean,
they might punish me for the things I actually said.
But you go back a decade before that, they're doing more than just talking about 13 and 14-year-olds. And that's
oh God, yeah. Yeah.
And only Roman Polanski really seems to be the one who took anything from it. But everybody now from the 70s was probably with a teenager. Every huge actor, musician, whatever. Some of it's been documented, some of it hasn't, but I'm amazed more people haven't been canceled. Most of them are my favorite musicians, and it's a hard pill to swallow a little bit. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And I mean, I think Michael's right though. You could have done like 7 different versions of this movie based on the footage she had, if she really wanted to go down some of the rabbit holes. This could have been a whole series. I don't know.
I bet she still has a bunch of tapes. Like, I think, from the outside looking in, it feels like if she would have got like a Thin Blue Line editor, like someone who's a real documentary editor, to come in and tighten it up and like figure out what the story actually is. Because you can tell, she could have told, all of the stories are valid. She could have told 20 different stories, but if they could have had been like, this is the story we're going with, and this is how we're going to tell it, it would have been better to me. And like, it feels like when they went to New York, it was like the story was running. It was like, oh, we went to New York and then we're done with the movie. We're done with the documentary. It's like, well, I need some wrap up. Tell me what's going on. And then, I mean, at the end they did the images and everything, but I was disappointed in the end.
I think I do agree with Sean in that they did take the memory approach, so it does kind of work on that level.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been, and maybe it's a flaw in me wanting to see more dirt, not necessarily the dirt part of it, but I mean, that's really what it is. If they really dug into some of those suicides and whatnot, that's probably not,
it's not anyone's business. It's not anyone's business, but then again, it should be talked about.
Right.
And it is crazy, like all these, like if you're a famous person in the 90s, you're in this documentary. Marky Mark's in the video. Leo's in this movie. Of everyone who's somebody is in this movie.
Steven Dorff.
Yeah,
Sugar Ray.
Mark Wahlberg just looks like he's just trying to fuck her right then and there.
Yeah.
So it is funny to watch him. He's like just the very typical 17-year-old boy, just all dick. He's just all dick straight ahead. It's hilarious. DiCaprio gets off pretty easy, hiding behind the scenes of all that.
She's not even trying to. I mean, I don't think she's implying anything.
No, she's not.
But it definitely, I don't know how you don't get that.
That's entirely my take on it.
But I think I had that take as well.
When Leo was there in the beginning and then he came back near the end of the documentary, he's like, look how tall I am. Look how big I am now. It's like, oh, Leo. You're so cute.
Yeah.
When she gets to New York and she starts, I mean, again, you think maybe, okay, she's going to escape from this. And then she ends up hanging out with the cast of kids and two of them end up dead. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Like the three main guys from Kids, like one of them had an overdose. One was death by depression. And then the other one moved to New Jersey. So it is what it is.
Anything else on Kid 90?
I recommend it. It's on Hulu, and I think it's worth watching.
I think it's worth watching. If you're 35 to 45, you'd enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I'm playing the classic music. You won't be able to hear it. We have 3 classics this week, but we're not going to spend a ton of time on any of them, probably. I was unable to see Kids. I've never seen Kids. It's not available for streaming somehow. I think Michael was able to see it. Have you seen it, Sean?
Yeah, I saw it 20 some odd yeurs ago.
Okay. It's not a moment of it that you can't, it's still there. You can't forget it, Bob.
Yeah. So the idea here is a day in the life of this group of teenagers, and some of them are real teenagers from the streets of New York. Some of them are actors. So you can tell which ones are the actors. Like Leo Fitzpatrick is an actor. Rosario Dawson and Chloe Sevigny were relatively kind of growing in their stardom at that time.
She was magic. Chloe Sevigny, she was magic. Like you could tell she's the star. She's like just on the screen.
The story is that there's this group of skateboarders and they all just hang out together. And there's this one leader, Telly, played by Leo Fitzpatrick, who's kind of the driver of the story in the background. He had sex with Chloe Sevigny. It's the only time she's ever had sex in her life, and she got AIDS.
And then Rosario Dawson and her have an interesting scene where they go to the clinic to get STD tested, and she's like listing all these different sexual things she's done and all these different partners she had. And then Chloe's just like, yeah, it was this one time last summer. Yeah, I won't let it happen again. And then she's the one that ends up getting sick.
So then she spends the day trying to track down Telly to let him know that this is what he's done, that he's given her this disease. Meanwhile, he's spent the entire day trying to have sex with another very young girl who's maybe like 13 years old. And tragedy unfolds from there. It's definitely not an easy movie to watch. Telly as a character is horrific. He's a horror movie villain at times, just the way he talks. And yet he's so real. He's so, you knew this guy in high school.
You're
Unfortunately,
like, yeah, I had pee with that jackass.
like you wanted to,
if
you
you-
wanted to
if-
beat the shit out of that guy. Like he just an awful human being.
he was able to encapsulate every asshole you knew growing up.
Yeah. And he's very specific that he wants to have sex with virgins, and that's his goal, is to have sex with virgins. Though obviously at some point he must not have, because he's got AIDS and he doesn't know it, and he's going to spread that around his entire group of friends through his escapades.
He didn't know he had it.
No.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So you didn't understand the text message I sent you then, Bob. I said, Casper loves you, Bob. Casper loves you. I was
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
I can't believe
Oh.
we're doing this. I can't believe we're doing this movie. But it definitely feels like it's one of those one-time watch movies, like Schindler's List or Requiem for a Dream. You're just
Yeah.
like, I don't need to see this ever again. But from a certain point of view, like if you're in health class and 16 or 17 years old, kids aren't going to, they're not going to watch an afternoon special and get anything from that. Like they could watch this and be like, geez, once you reach a certain age, you have to make real decisions in your life. And this is the closest thing to real life in a movie that's ever been made, I think, as far as teenagers go.
Yeah, I mean, when you're only, as a teenager, I think we all can recall a time when the only object we had was some sort of sexuality to express how adult we were, or what type of adult. You can get into drugs or alcohol or sex or all three, and they go for all three in many cases in this universe, and many kids did back then. And the structure of it is shocking, because you start with the AIDS thing, and then you've got her spending the rest of the day trying to find Telly to perhaps stop him from doing it again. But by the time she gets there, it's too late. And then something else happens to her that is horrific. And again, the cycle, by the time it's over, it's just all horror.
I remember growing up Catholic, this is like a forbidden movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Okay.
NC-17.
Wasn't it unrated? I thought Harvey Weinstein made it be unrated so it
Right.
could get into more theaters or something.
Maybe
Harvey
that's
Weinstein created a company that wasn't part of the MPAA specifically just to release this movie. That way
Gotcha.
they
'Cause
could
he thought,
release it
like,
unrated.
Yeah, because the NC-17 ones wouldn't get in the paper to be advertised
Right.
to be movie theaters.
Gotcha.
It's a tough watch, but if you're going to scare some teenagers straight, this might be the movie to make them watch. I don't know,
Gotta find it. And Harmony Korine wrote it. Larry
Yeah.
Clark directed.
He plays a club kid in it. He's a weirdo. I don't know. That's who he is.
If you want to have fun, go to YouTube and search Harmony Korine on Letterman, just through the years and how he got banned from Letterman for robbing one of his guests. All right. When we couldn't get a hold of kids, we briefly thought about making this the classic, only because it seems like a little less funny now. But with Cherry, Tom Holland trying to be a grown up, in that movie, plus with Kid 90, with all these 90s stars, the Showgirls, Elizabeth Berkley did it. But I'm going to move on because, if you watch anything on Showgirls, it's kind of, they thought they were making a different movie than the director was making, and that's pretty disgusting.
All I could, the only thing I ever think about now with Showgirls is the greatest line ever spoken in any movie ever. It must be weird to have a job where guys don't come on you.
Oh my god! I think about like the quote I think about is "It's a Versace."
Yeah, but if you listen to interviews with like Gina Gershon or whatever, they definitely thought they were making a different movie than.
I don't buy that. She's like, what do you think? What is it? She's grinding up people and helping
Well,
people.
but
What
I
does she
think they thought they were making more of a comedy.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, they knew they were making, the nudity they knew about, and she's done it in several movies, but it was that they were making a comedy.
Bound is worth checking out.
Yes, I agree.
There's got to be something, because I can't imagine that as talented as Gina Gershon and Kyle MacLachlan and others are, I can't imagine they didn't realize how bad Elizabeth Berkley was in this movie. And it had to have been with some sort of intention, I imagine, that she was giving that performance.
But I think that's what they were. It was supposed to be like a funny little striptease type movie.
Yeah.
And
And then he made it a melodrama.
Right. Because those two are creepy dudes.
Yeah.
Joe Esterhaus and Rennie Harlan. What's
No,
not Rennie. Oh my God, the fucking name.
They're Dutch. Aren't they both Dutch?
Yeah, I think so.
No, it's European. We'll let them be European.
Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah,
there it is.
And then the history documentary from history class back in school. Hollywood on Trial. This was not an entertaining documentary at all. It was interesting, but
I had it on in the background while I did other stuff, but I watched it.
It's infuriating. It's infuriating to watch this take
You just
place.
get angrier and
Yeah.
angrier as it goes on, and you're like, we've always had representatives that are fools the entire time. They've always been fools.
That's the takeaway I had from watching this. This is about, of course, the Hollywood 10 or the Hollywood blacklist, where a number of screenwriters and directors, even movie stars, were placed on a list of do not hire after they were named by other members of Hollywood community as communists, even though they were communists at a time when the communists were actually our friends because they were fighting World War II with us.
Like, do you need food? Do you need blankets? We will help you.
Yeah, exactly. There were also labor organizers, and of course, this is a lot of this was about just strike breaking and beating and defeating labor. So there was aspects of that to it. But what I came away with was that no matter what time period it is, we always grow up thinking that people who are older than us actually know things, and the reality is that no, they don't know anything. Nobody older than you knows more than you do. They're making it up as they go, just as we are. And a lot of it is based on on fear, on the desire for power, and the desperation of ego. And that's really what this was really about, was a group of very people wanting to exert power over others, express their own egos, and take advantage of the fears of others in order to perpetuate their power, or maybe perpetuate their own fear for that matter. And really, it is not shocking, I guess. It's just this realization. It makes you I don't know if it makes me feel better in a weird way to know that people who are older than us really don't know anything.
Well, it's like when you're growing up and your parents like, someday you'll understand, and when you get to someday, you're like, oh, you're just an idiot. That's what I'm understanding is everybody's an idiot.
Right.
Or it's like, or when you reach this point in your life, Dad, you just wouldn't have had a drink. That's what you do.
That is true too. But I guess the problem I have with this movie is normally when we watch, a movie about real life things, we go, well, the documentary's better. And in this instance, I'd rather watch Trimbo or even this. This isn't a great movie by any means, but I'd rather watch this than the documentary.
Because at least it's got De Niro being very compelling. This is a fictionalized version of the Hollywood 10 because he's playing a director who doesn't really exist and a group of people who are representations of the people who actually went through this. But it's based off of a lot of the real things that took place. Robert De Niro plays a very famous director who's called back from Europe to seemingly to talk about the next movie that he's going to make, only to find out that somebody has mentioned his name to the House Un-American Activities Committee, and he has to go before Congress and testify. And they expect him to name names so he can get back to making big Hollywood features, and he refuses to do it. And subsequently loses everything, his entire career, his home, everything's taken from him. He's followed by the FBI everywhere he goes, and it's fucked up what happened, and it really shouldn't have. And you get a couple of really good moments of De Niro really underlying the point of why this happened. And the thing about it is that Irwin Winkler, the director, is just not very good. He's very much of a blunt instrument when you need a more precise instrument. And I can recall there's a scene early on in the movie where De Niro's going to visit his lawyer, and Winkler thinks he's being really arty. He puts the camera underneath a gun, and then you see De Niro getting out of his car in the distance, and he's under the gun. Get it? Because he's under the gun. It's like, okay, Irwin, nice shot, buddy. Oh, just so blunt.
It feels like this story is important. The story needs to be told. It's entertaining, but I don't think it's good. Like, I'm
right.
You've seen Good Night and Good Luck? Like it feels like
Yes.
that is light years better. Like the same,
Oh, yeah.
similar topic, similar, but it's like light years better than this movie.
Absolutely.
This is very pedestrian. I
Yeah.
think that's
Trumbo,
it is.
the movie Trumbo with Bryan Cranston is far
Okay.
better than this, and that's about a guy who was actually in the documentary that we watched,
Mhm.
Right.
Dalton Trumbo, who was working in secret in Hollywood for a number of
Man,
years. And actually
I
won an
want to watch.
Oscar.
I want to watch a documentary just on him. He seems so interesting, and like he was like the most at ease and nonchalant. Like when he was being interviewed by Congress, he's like just joking with them the whole time. Like I don't give a shit. You know, like he didn't care. You know,
Right.
it's like I want to be as at ease as this guy is, at least a tenth of the time. He just seems so cool.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston did a great job with that.
Speaking of doing a good job, Richard Grieco in If Looks Could Kill, 25-year-old playing a high school student, clearly 25, playing a
Like-
high school student.
He looks even older than that. He looks like he's.
He
kinda
looks like
drunk.
he's in his 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went-
You know what, I watched this. I didn't watch this movie because it's not available. But I was reading a couple of reviews, and I was reading Rita Kempley and Roger Ebert, and both of them were like thirsty for him. Like they want a piece of Richard Grieco. Like they're both talking about how handsome he is and his eyes, and it looks like he's wearing eyeshadow, but he's not. And Rita Kempley's got this whole paragraph about his pecs when he takes his shirt off and how big his pecs are. And it's like, okay, back it off a little bit.
I guess I'm a If Looks Could Kill apologist. Like I think like there are plenty other movies that are dumb or dumber than this and made 10 times as much money as this in 1991. This is Richard Grieco. Like I think it's right at the point of 21 Jump Street, or he just left
No,
21
I
Jump
think he was
Street.
on Booker now by then.
Okay,
Yeah.
he left 21 Jump Street. He's on his own. He's on Booker. He's got his own. Finally got his own movie. It's kind of like it feels like a proto Austin Powers a little bit. Some of it, like it is really dumb. It's like you could tell that everyone who went to the casting call was in their 30s, and you're like, and you're never too old to play high schooler if you're in Hollywood. It's a dumb movie.
As dads, would you leave your high school daughter alone with that guy?
No way. Well, unless you're fascinated with him too. He's like, I'm gonna have some
Right.
beautiful ass grandkids.
Yeah, plus you're interested in your gene pool.
Yeah.
He's
I-
clearly in his 30s, it would seem. Like he's just so much older than everybody. It is just ridiculous. Like you're supposed to buy him as a guy who failed French class, so he has to go to France with the French club. Okay. He's mistaken for a spy and gets pulled in by British MI6 and given all the James Bond treatment with all these various different gadgets that he gets to use and doesn't know how to use, and comedy abounds.
Should they refer to people as Richard Grieco instead of Marty Jannetty from now on? or is he just another Marty Jannetty?
Oh, you mean the Marty Jannetty to Johnny Depp's
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was that wrestled with Steve Austin? Who was it?
Brian
Was
Pillman.
that Brian Pillman? Yeah. Well, I guess he had his own thing for a
Yeah.
while, but he was definitely the lesser though.
Yeah. He's Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I love that only a fraction of our audience knows
It's
what I'm
okay.
talking
The
about.
people.
Sorry, Corey.
But anyway, if looks could kill.
Oh
it
yeah, we
is-
didn't talk about that
it is-
enough.
It is. It is. If you want to watch one of the dumbest movies of all time, here at the Mike and Mike podcast, featuring two mics, it is. It is a jewel in the crown of early 90s cinema. It's almost like a carryover of an 80s movie. Like it feels like this is an 80s, like it was on a script of other 80s movies. They didn't get around to making it until 1991. It is so dumb. It is so ridiculous. It is a lot of fun. And it's what we like to celebrate the Two Mics podcast.
What did anyone see in Richard Grieco as an actor? In all seriousness, because the man is a vacuum of charisma. Like he is an empty void behind a cute smile. Like
No tits and ass.
there's
He's
no
all-
there's no there. When you look at his eyes and you hear him speak, he has no. There's like nothing behind it.
I kind of like there's a couple lines in it that kind of felt like this was made for Bruce Willis to a certain extent. Like the badass lines that he was giving him, like this sounds like something that was cut from Die Hard, you know? And it's like, is he on the same level as Bruce Willis? Does Bruce Willis act like, or is he like in the same kind of, I don't know. It's like they just pretty faces that do pretty things.
And I mean, there's a bunch of people in Hollywood like that. Why can't there be more men? Nothing more than pretty faces and nothing else.
That gun is very phallically placed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at my penis, ladies.
Yeah.
His eyes are so nice.
It's almost like he's wearing a head shadow. Look at the way he looks directly into your soul.
He can look beyond your eyes, but you can't look beyond his. All right. Not real actors. True Colors with John Cusack and James Spader.
Okay.
Yes. True Colors, 1991. Directed by Herbert Ross, who's a pretty good director. And this is a really surprisingly relevant movie still today. It's about politics and about two different ideas of being ambitious. James Spader wants to genuinely help people by becoming a part of the apparatus that prosecutes corruption, and John Cusack wants to be corrupt. and he ends up he sets up a goal for himself to be elected to Congress within 7 years, and he does just about anything he can to get there. Little dirty tricks here and there just to kind of forward his career, and Spader just sort of kind of laughs along with him at first until Cusack's character pulls this thing where he actually gets Spader's character in trouble. And then Spader starts to really see the facade of his closest friend kind of come down a little bit, and the danger that he poses to actually being a politician and what he might be willing to do. Mandy Patinkin plays this character of Italian descent, if you will, who may have construction interests, if you will.
Legitimate businessman.
Yeah. Mr. Palmieri, he's a friend. He's got good friends. He's got friends out there. And he starts helping Cusack, and Spader ends up investigating him, and by extension, then it gets to Cusack. And really well acted, and Spader is really fantastic. You think we have a very specific vision of Spader as the more cynical character, as the bad boy kind of character, and Cusack not as a good guy, but as a nicer guy in other movies. And the flip dynamic here of the two of them is kind of nice. And Spader does play a heroic character really, really well here. And it's because he's so intelligent, and he's always a very intelligent actor. That really communicates here, even as his character is kind of a Pollyanna type who's, opposed to all corruption, no matter what the result of it. Because Cusack thinks, I'll do a couple of corrupt things, but in the end, I'm going to help a lot more people by that corruption. And Spader's like, you have to do it right no matter what. And Cusack says, you can't get ahead by doing it right. You have to get ahead first. Then maybe you can do a couple of right things along the way. And the movie doesn't judge either of those approaches, other than saying that maybe Cusack's the bad guy here. I don't think it's judging those approaches. I think it's giving both sides a proper airing. Like, yes, Spader's right. Do everything the right way and be good. And Cusack's like, you can only do good once you have the power to actually do good. And those two approaches are very interesting. And I thought that this movie is actually pretty resonant in those two approaches.
Sounds like Hamilton.
Maybe that's why I like it.
Do they sing and dance?
If only.
You seen Class Action before?
I did not see Class Action.
I've seen that, but I was like in 1992. So
I remember walking by at the video store a lot. I'm surprised we didn't try to see this one. The Comfort of Strangers, Paul Schrader.
Yeah.
Whoa, Natasha Richardson's in this? Okay.
Definitely the kind of movie I want to see, but
Rupert, Helen Mirren.
Never found the time.
Yeah. And then whoever the hell this guy is.
Jeff Speakman. When you
Speakman.
can't get Michael Dudikoff, you get Jeff Speakman.
So there's a thing about Kevin Pollak had an HBO special in the 90s that I will never the one thing I'll never forget about it is how excited he is about Jeff Speakman, the first Jewish action hero. And just him going on about how the Jews are all very proud of Jeff Speakman. Like, it's finally a Jewish hero. And it's just so ridiculous. The movie is terrible, and Pollak is definitely going on about this specifically because the movie is so obviously terrible. It's a great bit. Look it up on YouTube. Kevin Pollak talking about Jeff Speakman, but the movie lives up to every word that he says about it because it's just awful. I haven't seen it in about 20 years, but it was terrible. And it's every action movie cliche of the 80s and early 90s. But it's also the marketing of this movie, like really trying to make Jeff Speakman happen. Like Jeff Speakman is Fetch. They're really trying to make this happen, and it just does not happen.
Go Fetch.
What else has he done?
Nothing. Nothing. This failed so spectacularly. I think he quit Hollywood.
Put him alongside like Stallone or Schwarzenegger for a while. Get him built up a little bit. Don't like Michael said. We already had Michael Dudikoff. Not to mention Van Damme and Seagal and all these other guys. Oh,
Plus
wow.
Remo Williams,
Dark Man.
Yeah.
All right, that is all the movies this week. Next week we have I don't know if we'll watch it or not, but the Netflix documentary Operation Varsity Blues about the Lori Loughlin shit.
I just assume you guys are going to do like a 5 or 6 part podcast next week for the DC universe, for the Zack Snyder's Justice League that's coming out next week.
Sean doesn't want to be wrong. First he said that didn't exist, and obviously it didn't exist. What he said, I'm taking what he said out of context,
Right?
But because this wasn't done. But then he doesn't want it to be good either. I don't think. I'm just kidding.
I was right at the time because they had to go back and actually make the movie because they had
reshot one scene.
I don't believe that. I bet they reshot a lot of scenes, Bob.
They said it did one.
Okay.
But it's rated R. It's 4 hours long, and I'm sure Josh will come back.
It's just so hard because, like, as a kid, like as like a 6-year-old, like I was excited to watch Superman, and it's like these movies you cannot show a 6, 7, 8-year-old, and I know in this Zack Snyderverse, we're going to see Superman's dick or something. Like there's going to be something horrible, R-rated. Why does this even need to exist?
Oh, the amazing revisionism of the Snyder Cut people is shocking. Like they've turned him into this brilliant auteur who's been denied this whole time. And, no, go back and watch his movies. He sucks.
That said,
I love Batman versus Superman.
We didn't hate Man of Steel.
I like Batman versus Superman.
We were really high on Batman versus Superman.
I like Watchmen. I like Watchmen.
I like Watchmen too. I know Sean doesn't, but
I don't.
I like him better than Joss Whedon all of a sudden. So yeah, that's to look forward to. Sean's going to South by Southwest next week.
That's right.
On his couch or in real life?
On his
virtually.
Okay, cool.
He's really already been there.
Okay.
So we'll talk about some movies there.
Right. The Spine of Night is an animated movie with Patton Oswalt and Lucy Lawless that I think people will be interested in. There's also there's 2 other ones that I'm going to be covering as well, where I've got interviews with the directors and a review of the film. So that'll all be going up soon.
Our classic's going to be Hollywoodland. Just
okay.
To cover both the Ben Affleck and the Superman side of things.
Okay.
I suggested we do Once Upon a Time in America just to do 2 4-hour movies, but Sean said no. 1991 Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze comes out as well.
It's got Diesel in it.
Yeah.
Please don't ruin my experience of last year and loving Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just hope that.
Oh man, my kids are really into Ninja Turtles right now, but they can only watch it so much because they'll just like full on kick each other as hard as they can. Like, we're done watching Ninja Turtles.
Also, a movie called Scissors, Mr. Johnson, and Defending Your Life.
Dude, Defending Your Life is fantastic.
That is a really great movie. Legitimately great movie.
Good,
like I don't like Albert Brooks unless he's on The Simpsons, but I like him in this movie. I think he's pretty good in this movie.
I like Albert Brooks, I guess, but I haven't seen that much either.
I guess he was in Drive too. I liked him in Drive as well.
Yeah, there's the Facebook page with Mike stuff.
Two Mass Media presents Two Mike's podcast.
Yes. Before we end, you guys have a little time for Flick Chart?
Sure.
All right, Fight Club or Love Actually?
I'd rather watch Love Actually, but Fight Club's a better movie, so Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club.
I agree. Go or The Champ?
Go.
What's the champ?
Is that
John Voight?
Voight?
Faye Dunaway.
Oh, isn't his daughter? Oh no, it's got Ricky Schroeder in it. Rick Schroeder. He plays his son. Go.
Yeah.
I'm going with Go.
I agree. Super Troopers, the Brady Bunch movie.
Oh, they're both,
Brady Bunch movie. I hate
both-
Super Troopers.
I think they're both dumb and fun. I think Brady Bunch movie is actually better. I think it is better.
I'll go Super Troopers just to be nice to that crowd. Bend It Like Beckham, Hitman.
Both bad movies in different ways, but I guess Bend It Like Beckham is slightly less bad.
Yeah, I'm going with Beckham.
I haven't seen either one. Let the Right One In, The Deer Hunter. Wow.
Right, let the right one in.
Let the right one in.
Deer Hunter once again needs an editor. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
My first viewing of Deer Hunter, I think I said this last week, was such a cool experience. I haven't gone back because I know that wedding scene should probably be cut altogether. And that's 45 minutes to an hour. But I remember that movie really being cool. Gone in 60 Seconds or Boogie Nights?
Boogie Nights.
Yeah, I'm going with Boogie Nights.
As am I. Intolerable Cruelty, Philadelphia.
Intolerable Cruelty is really underrated, but Philadelphia is the better movie.
I'm going with Philadelphia. I sent you guys a message. Pay It Forward and What to Expect When You're Expecting. I think both of these are pretty horrible.
I
but
think
you
I'd
guys
rather
can-
kill
it's your
myself than watch
podcast.
either one.
You guys can. It's your podcast.
I would commit seppuku before watching either of these
Seppuku.
movies. So
What did you pick, Michael?
I would rather do What to Expect than Pay It Forward.
I agree.
yeah.
Is there really a Christopher Walken Deer Hunter doll?
Come on in.
Oh wow.
I think it's left over from the movie. I think it was like they had. I don't know what. I think it. Obviously, they needed a dummy for a stunt or something.
I showed my son the Russian roulette scene over the weekend.
Because of course you did.
He had a cap gun, and I was showing him how to play.
Oh my god.
Have you ever seen The Curve with Matthew Lillard? They do like a scene like that with a cap gun.
No.
It's kind of like Dead Man on Campus. It's like the horror version, like a horror real life version of Dead Man on Campus, but it's called The Curve. It's got Matthew Lillard, and they reenact the Dee Dee Mouse scene from Deer Hunter.
I remember Brockmeyer did a good Russian roulette scene as well. Twilight Spanglish.
Spanglish.
I'll go Spanglish too. The 13th Warrior. What the fuck? Two movies I don't care about. Kingdom of Heaven.
13th Warrior. I think it's
Yeah,
short.
I'm going with 13th Warrior. 13th Warrior showed everyone how easy it is to learn English.
Borat, Aragon.
Or
Borat, yeah. I don't like Borat, but yeah.
Was it the producers that nominated Borat for Best Picture?
Yeah, I mean, the sequel might be getting some genuine Oscar buzz, yeah.
Jesus. Monsters Ball, Event Horizon.
Monsters Ball.
I think Event Horizon is underrated, but
Me
I think
too.
I hate
Monsters
Event Horizon.
Monsters Ball is definitely the better movie.
Finally got someone to agree with me on Event Horizon. Aside from the rest of the public. But Sean and Michael, Sean and Josh just don't like it. Munich, The Sum of All Fears.
Munich.
Which one's Sum of All Fears?
That's the Ben Affleck one, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I'm going
Which
Munich.
is not bad. I didn't think it was that bad, but Munich's a better movie.
Analyze This or Doom.
Again, two more movies I don't enjoy. Analyze This, I would probably prefer over Doom.
Yeah.
I love Analyze This.
It felt like that this was the Fockers moment. Like he did Analyze This and Analyze That, and he's like, got this other script. It's called Meet the Fockers. I'm doing it. I'm redoing my career. This is amazing. Whatever.
He was fine.
He's fun.
He just wasn't as good as Guilty by Suspicion.
Okay.
Born on the 4th of July, The Family Man.
Flip a coin. I have no idea.
I like The Family Man better. Born on the 4th of July seems a little over. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Truly. I've never seen
Santiago Italia.
Crazy Heart 10,000
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah. Done.
Did you watch Coming to America, Michael, the sequel?
Coming to America.
Yes. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I'm telling you right now, should have been rated R. You want to make a good Eddie Murphy movie, needs to be rated R. The last good Eddie Murphy movie was Norbit. I said it. Last good Eddie Murphy was Norbit. No, but the Dolomite
Dolomite's
one,
good. I like Dolomite.
The Dolomite one he did was pretty good. Like it felt like, especially like the actor itself, like the guy that did, as opposed to like the Room guy and the Dolomite guy. Like the Dolomite guy actually created multiple movies. He created multiple characters. He was a successful businessman, and it felt like. I don't know. He's much more of a character you want to make a movie about than the guy from The Room.
Oh man! Wow, Norbit is traumatic.
It is really bad. It is awful. So bad.
It is,
but I will watch it 100 times before coming to America. But freaking, I mean, the supporting characters in Coming to America were a lot of fun.
It was all really, nostalgia.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get a little backup on that.
Wesley Snipes was so much fun. Like Wesley Snipes was amazing, and then the Voodoo Doctor, I assume that's Arsenio in the Voodoo Doctor outfit. Like that's like 12 hours of makeup. It looked amazing. His character was good, but it wasn't enough to carry the movie. It needed to be rated R.
That's probably true, but I did enjoy the fact that they literally brought back every person from the first one, from every small, tiny little character. Mm-hmm. They didn't replace anybody, didn't recast anybody.
Literally everyone except Sam Jackson, like literally every person.
Yeah, and he doesn't matter.
And then the Prince of Soul Glow, he wasn't in it either.
Fences or Stigmata?
Fences, just because Viola Davis, I guess, is really good.
Species, Shanghai Noon.
Species for all the wrong reasons.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going Species.
Lost in Space, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
I haven't seen Too Fast and Furious, but I will vote for Too Fast and Too Furious.
Red or The Rundown?
I like both those movies. I enjoy The Rundown, though, a little bit more.
This is when he plays a small town cop.
No, he gets sent to. He's a bounty hunter who gets sent to South America to find Sean William Scott.
Okay. I think I remember. And then there's like a jungle fight. I remember there's a jungle. Okay.
Christopher Walken's the big bad guy. He does one of his great. He's got one of the great Christopher Walken monologues ever, just talking about the Tooth Fairy.
About his watch. No. Okay.
No, it's like that though. But he's talking about the Tooth Fairy.
Okay. Christopher Walken talking about the Tooth Fairy. Okay.
You can win. Let's see if the internet will just end this thing for us, maybe.
Come on. That was unfair. Almost Famous was there for a minute.
Oh.
Was it really?
Yeah. Instead, we have Identity versus Underworld Awakening, which I guess, I don't know, Identity. They're both not great.
Okay.
I'm okay either way.
Never heard of Valerie. Although I
like Logan.
I want to know what her Week of Wonders was, though. I'm curious.
Logan or Star Trek Generations?
Logan.
Last one, Sharknado versus Avatar.
Sharknado.
Fuck you, Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the modern day Citizen Kane.
Now again, it is now and again the number one movie of all time.
Really?
Thanks to re-releases in the last year.
Okay.
Avatar has overcome Endgame
to
return to number one.
Good for them.
I've never met a person who said they liked Avatar ever.
I know one person who likes Avatar, and she's a really, really brilliant YouTuber, and I'm just, it's the one thing that disappoints me.
The person I saw Avatar with loved it, and then Josh and I got to know each other from Avatar because he read my review of it and he started arguing with me. All right, I'll be right there. All right, that's our show. Don't forget to check out Michael, the Two Mics podcast, everywhere you listen to podcasts. All right, talk to you guys later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Boy, mate.